Live from the 607, it's the Ocho Duro Parlay Hour, where we're talking sports locally and nationally. Join the conversation on our social media with the hashtag ODPH, because here we go.
Instead of looking deep inside, every word I have to say, keep it simple.
Welcome to a very special edition of the ODPH podcast, better known as the Ocho Duro Parlay Hour. What is going on? Thank you so much for joining us this week. My name is Ken. Joining me for this edition is the one and only co-host. You know him. His name is Padawan J.
Hello, hello, hello.
And also joining us in studio, senior sports editor extraordinaire. He is your coach. He is my coach. He is the coach, Coach Duffy.
I almost forgot what holy day was coming up this weekend.
Yes.
And that is opening day for the NFL.
It is the NFL's return to the masses.
But more importantly, college football.
Yes.
And Notre Dame to win the ACC.
Which we will have next week's show, because the next two podcasts that you'll be listening to under the ODPH network is that of our annual NFL season preview.
Uh-huh.
The national pastime of the United States of America is back, and that is American football. It dominates all the sports, headlines, news, whatever you want to define.
Tweets, Instagram posts.
Yes, it is just the unstoppable force that just runs right through social media and our lives from now until that first weekend in February when we crown a champion. So many headlines to go through, so we give you our predictions. We break down each division by AFC, NFC for episodes. So this one is going to be all the AFC. We're going to be dropping the NFC right after this, so you definitely want to make sure you're subscribed to the ODPH podcast. You can find all those links at OchoDuroParlayHour.com, and remember, join in the conversation with the hashtag ODPH. So, gentlemen, let us waste no more time. We are going to start this edition of the ODPH talking the AFC Conference, kicking off with the Eastern Conference. So, Pad, who do we have in this division?
So that would be the New England Patriots, the Buffalo Bills, the New York Jets, and the Miami Dolphins. Just running in that order, that is how they finished. Patriots finished last year 12-4. Buffalo finished second place last year 10-6. Jets finished third at 7-9, and then Miami rounded out the division at 5-11.
So what we're going to do is break down each division and give you our picks of where they're all going to rank. So, Coach, why don't you kick us off?
Well, I mean, let's address the elephant in the room that is COVID-19, which has made, this NFL season the most, I guess, interesting one, to say the least. I mean, minimum training camp or abbreviated training camp, no preseason games.
Yeah.
So you're really going into this blind, I mean, as far as, if you follow your team, you obviously have a little bit of insight. So, me being a Giants fan, Pat's fan, Ken, Bills fan, you get a little bit more news from there. Like, I've been following the Giants Twitter for their scrimmages and all that stuff. But that's it. So, I mean, where I'm coming from this is, just based off of what I'm seeing as far as a scheduling standpoint and, the players that have been picked up and let go and what have you and moves. That's all we have to go based off of. And, I mean, right now, Ken, I like the Buffalo Bills to win this division.
You're a good man.
Well, going back to your point about COVID-19, I was looking at lines and spreads for locks and leaps and what have you, and I was looking through some of the games, and it shocked me a little bit, just at face value, that, Tampa Bay is opening against the New Orleans Saints. We'll preview that in the next episode. But I was looking at the lines, and currently New Orleans is a 3.5-point favorite against the Bucs, and I'm going, wait a minute. I'm like, it's Tom Brady and every weapon known to God and man down there. Like, how is that a fit? But then I'm remembered, like you said, COVID-19, Breeze and the Saints have been together for however many years. Yep. They're a well-oiled machine. Yeah, Brady and company have been practicing, but is it the same as, game time conditions? So to your point, the season is going to be very interesting. We're going to see how it goes. Going to be real bizarre if they start pumping in artificial crowd sound throughout the game. It's just going to be weird to me. But in terms of the AFC Eastern Conference, no, I agree with you. Don't get me wrong, I'm a Patriots fan, but reading the room, I haven't seen Cam on the field. He has been named the starter for Week 1 against the Miami Dolphins, but I've only seen stuff, from people's cell phone videos who can be like a safe distance away without violating any rules or protocols of Patriots practice. So I haven't exactly seen how he looks. He's glowing.
Great dance videos.
Yeah.
Lots of those.
Yeah. No. But I know did an interview with WEEI up in Boston either yesterday or today, and he was glowing Belichick's praises. But you expect him to do that.
Yeah.
But I'm expecting Buffalo to take the division this year. I'm not expecting, gold and diamonds and platinum out of an unknown.
Yeah, no, I'm glad you guys brought up about COVID-19 because this is going to be a completely different era.
Well, you have to.
Yeah. Oh, I know, but it's just one of those things that as we're getting back to the normal routine of football, we do have to keep mentioning that, this is going to be a very different season. Mm-hmm. For a lot of teams, they're not going to have any fans. I know Buffalo is barring any fans.
New England as well for at least the first 2 games, I think.
Right.
Yeah, I saw somebody just announced that they're going to allow 5,700 fans in the stadium. I can't remember which. But it was just announced today. It might have been Denver. It's Denver.
Yes,
it was Denver.
Yes.
So depending on where you are in the country, you might have fans in your stadium, you might not.
Can I just make a plea to the folks? If the folks over at Fox Sports are listening to this episode, please do not do what you've been doing for Major League Baseball on Fox. If the stands are empty at the NFL stadium, we understand as fans why they are empty. We get it. Don't put video game fans in the stands. It just looks weird. It just looks dumb. Mm-hmm. Put the artificial crowd noise in there, whatever, that's fine. Teams have been doing that for a lot of years. Indianapolis. Sorry, I got a frog in my throat there.
Oh, boy.
Teams have been doing that for a while. That's nothing new. Is it going to be weird to the players? Yeah, maybe. But putting something in for the fans when we understand why there aren't any fans there, don't do the artificial fan thing.
Well, I'm sorry, Ken, jump in on you, but I watched a little bit of the BYU Navy game last night, and what I'm thinking that this is really without fans, and I know total tangent we're going on here, but where it's going to be interesting is these teams that run no huddle. Now, obviously, if you're the home team going no huddle, the crowd's going to be a little bit down because they want you to be able to hear and whatever. The quarterback will quiet you down. But the road team, that are going to be running these no huddle offense, this might be more geared towards college because the emphasis on pace of play is way higher in college than it is in the NFL.
Yeah.
But those teams that do run, up tempo offense. New England started incorporating it a little bit last year. You know, Brady did it a little bit. So those teams that do incorporate, Arizona did it a lot. So when they're the road team, part of the confusion that can happen is by the signals and stuff in the reads and coaches calling in plays and stuff. And I know that they have the mics and the coaches cover their mouths, but it's going to be way more audible. And think about, a la the UFC, where you can now hear the coaches when before it would be muffled.
Yeah.
Now you can hear the corner guys, hey, look for that 1-2 combo. You hear that. Yeah. So I'm just thinking without that crowd noise, there might be a slip up of, some coach out loud or screaming, not swearing necessarily, but giving a signal away that could lead to something later on in the game. It's just going to be really interesting. So pumping in that crowd noise, although, obviously the Colts did it a little, allegedly. Yeah, allegedly. Did it.
Allegedly my ass.
Did it by not necessarily needing to. It might be needed now.
Well, that's going to be a variable that we're going to have to see as the games go on because, like we say, depending on where you are, you either going to have fans or you're not, and it's going to vary, obviously. Sure. And there's going to be a whole different dimension that goes on with this. And where we're going to be kicking off with the AFC East, I think the coach that will adapt to this the most is going to be Bill Belichick.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Which I think he will definitely scheme something up and definitely keep his team involved.
So they practice in all conditions, and when I say all conditions, I mean all conditions.
Well, there's nothing that he does not think about.
Exactly. So I'm sure that they're going to have more smoke screen calls than you know what to do with.
Sure.
Because of that point, because people are going to be able to hear. Because I know that everybody is saying the Bills should run away with this division. And as a Bills fan, I agree. I think they should. In fact,
I was like, wait, is he gonna try to play the modest game here and be like, oh no?
No, because
not so fast, my friend.
No, because I have the Bills going 10-6 this year.
Okay,
and winning the division. I think that this is going to be the third year with Josh Allen. So obviously, going into the playoffs last year was a huge confidence boost.
Sure,
and they definitely held their own against Houston until that game. But
until the defense got tired later on.
Exactly.
Later on in the game.
So they have made a lot of adjustments this year. Tre'Davious White has been locked up, which is a huge move for them on the defensive front. And where Josh Allen now has a big weapon in Stefon Diggs coming over via trade from Minnesota.
Yep.
Not even to say that the wide receiver core was weak for Buffalo last year. It's just, and albeit maybe they just didn't have the ability to get open the way that they needed to. Josh Allen also, did miss some wide open throws. I'm thinking specifically of that Giants game.
Yeah.
When he had Josh Brown open multiple times downfield and just missed them.
Yeah.
But Diggs is going to be that underneath guy who can run those intermediate routes that they didn't have before. That's what Diggs' specialty is. He's a burner.
Yeah.
He'll burn you downfield on the fly route. But he can also run those intermediate routes very, very well.
He's also a class receiver where, no disrespect to any of the guys who were in Buffalo's receiving core prior to Diggs showing up, but he's a step above those guys. He's not an elite like a Randy Moss or a Terrell Owens or a Chad Johnson type where it's just like you got to double cover this guy all day or he's going to burn you, but you got to pay him attention.
Yeah, you might have to put double on him at one point.
Oh yeah,
especially on down situations. Yeah, I would double team him.
Yeah,
you're going to definitely have to do that, and I think though the Bills now have a true number one in their wide receiver core. I mean, there's nothing against Josh Brown and Cole Beasley, but
sure.
Let's be honest about it. This is something that they were going to definitely need to do and definitely need to step up for, and they made the right call to do that.
Sure,
because had they not, I don't know how the season would have gone, to be honest. That they were showing the growth, but for Josh Allen, who's one knock, and I'll be the first one to tell you, he's very inaccurate. He's got a cannon for an arm, but he can't hit the
broadside of a barn.
Yeah, he can't hit the ocean if he was falling out of a lifeboat. That's the one argument that you have. So Diggs, I think, will be a smart enough route runner to pick up on those tangibles and really help him.
Well, not even just that. I think when you have a guy that runs the elite routes, it might not necessarily just be Josh Allen's inaccuracies that it is maybe or Josh Allen inaccuracies as it is, it might be just the wide receiver not running the right. I mean, you would assume Cole Beasley, runs the drag route probably no better, just as good as
do it.
Yeah, just as good as Amendola or Edelman do. He's that kind of wide receiver. But I mean, Diggs, it's those zig routes, it's those dig routes, it's the 15 post, 15-yard outs that Josh Allen now is going to be able to put within a vicinity, and Diggs is going to be a good enough talent to go up and make a play on it. Well, and that is what Buffalo was needing last year.
And also to your point, it's not just the accuracy, it's the decision making. Because I remember watching a game with you last season. I forget who they were playing.
Minnesota,
somebody, where Allen was, drop back to pass, and he's looking, and he's scrambling left, he's scrambling right, he's scrambling backwards, he's scrambling forwards, and I'm not exaggerating here. He's scrambling more than an egg. And I'm sitting there going, you got nothing, throw it away. Drew Brees, Tom Brady, pick your quarterback, Eli Manning, Peyton Manning, whoever, would have gone, ain't got nothing, 15 rows deep in the stands. And he just runs and runs and runs and runs, and he takes a loss because he gets hit.
Well, that comes from, the inexperience.
Sure.
Yeah.
I mean,
and that's something that he definitely learned about. I don't think it was Minnesota. I think it was the Jets.
It was somebody. I just remember that play specifically. I'm like, throw it away.
Yeah.
Throw it away. Okay.
But that's something that he's definitely gotten better about. I remember, and I think that what I think about Josh Allen's critiquing is when he kept trying to hurdle guys.
Yeah.
And when he's hurdling in Minnesota, and I thought he was going to get killed.
Yeah.
His decision-making has to be better, and it has to be quicker, too. And I think that what he tries doing is a lot like what Ben Roethlisberger does. He tries extending the plays too much. I think in some cases it definitely works, but I think in some cases it definitely doesn't. So if he can minimize those mistakes, I think he'll be in a good position.
So you might be able to extend like Brett Favre, but you ain't got the arm like him.
Well, he definitely does. He's got the arm.
I mean, the difference between Ben Roethlisberger's ability to stretch a play and Josh Allen's is Roethlisberger, at least when he is keeping his head up. Josh Allen is, like, you said, he's just, it's immediate scramble, nothing there. All right, I'm going upfield and then getting, demise because the defense now is starting to cave on me and focus on me because I'm not looking downfield to see what's open, and I'm past the line of scrimmage. I got to go. While Roethlisberger has that immediate ability to scramble within the pocket to then keep his head up and find something downfield, and that's the difference. I mean, it's inexperience. It's an uncomfortability in the pocket that he will develop as he continues to age, and I think this year will be that year that he can do that.
He'll definitely be a growing year,
and he has to.
Oh yeah, he has no choice.
I mean it has to be.
If the Bills are going to succeed this year, he has to continue to grow. I think he's going to do it. I mean, obviously Singletary in the backfield, and they drafted Zach Moss too. That's a huge 1-2 combo that I think will definitely help them. And for their defense, I mean, it's still as solid as ever. Like I said, they signed Tre'Davious White for a long-term contract, and that is something that I will say, Brandon Beane and everybody in the front office has done a wonderful job about building this team up.
Sure.
Yeah, this team is very, I mean, on paper, just looking at the secondary, with Tre'Davious White, Josh Norman back there, Jordan Pryor, and Micah Hyde.
Yeah.
That's a very formidable group of 4 back there, in your base set.
So I'm done, and I'm looking at their schedule. They got an interesting schedule. They open against New York, the Jets. Week 3, they play the Rams at home. Then they go to Vegas to play the Raiders. Then they play Tennessee and Kansas City in back-to-back weeks. Yo.
They got a tough schedule.
And then coming out of their bye week, which is week 11, they play the Chargers, Niners, Pittsburgh, Denver, and New England.
Well, the AFC East as a whole. It's not just Buffalo. That's the AFC East slate is the NFC and AFC West.
Yeah.
That's murderer's row right there. I know, and obviously we'll get to the AFC West and the NFC West later on, but it's like, you look at those teams out there in the West and, you got to win. Those, you have to split. You got to go 4-4, otherwise you're toast.
Yeah.
Because you're not going to go undefeated in your division. I definitely can see Buffalo splitting with New England and slipping up against the team like they're not New England, so Miami doesn't necessarily give them problems down in Miami, but you can definitely see them slip into a game against the Jets.
Yeah, fully.
So so that will be that's going to be the concern. They have to beat Miami. You got to go 2-0 against them. You got to split that game 4-4. So now you're looking at 6-4. You got to win. Your game 7. So I think 10. What you said,
10-6.
10-6 is right
doable.
on.
It's achievable. They just have to follow the plan, and McDermott has to be better about making crunch time decisions.
Yeah, because that fucking playoff game was brutal.
And who called that too?
Yeah, you were spot on, man.
And that's the thing. He
The
needs
whole
to be better.
time.
I know he just got locked up for a 6-year contract, which he's worth it. I'm not saying he isn't.
Sure.
But when it gets to be crunch time, that 2-minute drill, he has to move quick. If the Bills are going to succeed, they definitely need to have this out of their head coach.
Yeah.
But right now, the parts are in place. If everybody stays healthy, they should go 10-6.
Yeah.
Right behind them on my schedule, though, I do have the Pats at 9-7.
Absolutely.
Yeah, yeah.
And I will say, I could have almost flip-flopped this, too.
Yeah, either one can go 10-6, 9-7.
Yeah.
It's interchangeable.
Absolutely.
I've got New England as one of my wild card.
Yeah,
I see that.
They're still good. I think. Obviously, Tom Brady and Cam Newton are 2 totally different guys.
Yeah.
But I definitely think that, the last year at Carolina, you could see kind of weight on Cam Newton. You definitely saw the potential. The guy is an elite quarterback when he's healthy and happy. You know, and I think that, a new change of scenery in New England, the winning mentality, Ken always says it. Winning heals a lot of wounds and covers a lot of Band-Aids.
Oh, yeah.
So I think that will help. And I think, Josh McDaniel obviously is a great offensive coordinator.
Oh, he's going to have fun with that.
Yeah, who has done a tremendous job with a guy like Tim Tebow, who is 1/3 of the quarterback that Cam Newton is, if not worse, as far as arm strength and ability.
Yeah.
And he took him to, almost the AFC championship game.
Yeah.
So he's going to be excited to have Cam Newton to work with. He's going to open up the offense. They're going to have so many more plays that they're going to be able to run that they weren't able to run with Tom Brady because, again, 2 different quarterbacks.
Yeah.
I definitely like what New England's going to be able to do. It's just, again, on paper, do they have the offense outside of Cam Newton to be able to do that? And that's where the question is.
Sure. No, it's one of the things is like, am I excited to see Cam play? Yeah, I am. He's a dynamic player. It's going to be interesting to see what McDaniels and Belichick can come up with, and I think they'll be able to come up with something for him. But my big things with the Patriots are, can the offensive line stay healthy? Because that was one of the big things last year was, just the decimation at offensive line and all the issues you had with them. The receiving core is okay. Edelman's still there, and you've got N'Keal Harry at wide receiver. Nothing special at tight end with Ryan Izzo. You're still trying to replace Gronk, which, let's face it, you're never going to be able to replace him. And then the biggest question, I know normally it's kind of a sound spot for them is but with all the players they've lost because they're opting out for the year, is on defense. Dante Hightower is not playing this year because he's opted because he, when the deadline came for players to opt out, had just had a child. Which again, don't fault him. I completely understand. But where normally I look at the defense and go, this is a pretty stout defense. Got some questions with defense. It's going to be interesting to see.
I fully agree with you, too. And I think Belichick, though, is so smart, and I will give the devil his due each time. He will find players that we don't expect And they will become very adaptable to that system.
Absolutely.
And
James
the Patriot
White.
way, and the Patriot way will definitely take over on the defense. So
I'll say defense is still pretty good, though. We got Gilly out there at cornerback. Thank you.
Yeah, you got Stephen Gilmore. So, like I say, your defense will be solid. Is it going to be shut down? Debatable.
Probably not.
Debatable. But can they definitely slow teams down? Absolutely. And I think for Gilmore, I think he's going to have another huge year.
Oh, yeah.
Cam Newton is the biggest X factor.
Yeah.
And I think that Cam is finally healthy. I think that he's going to work very well with McDaniels. And Coach took my point that I was going to mention. McDaniels made gold with Tebow.
Yeah.
He's going to make diamonds with Cam.
Oh, so he's got the world's biggest chip on his shoulder, too.
Yeah, he's motivated.
I'm a homer, and I watch his YouTube videos, but and I get they're probably cut that way, but you watch those videos, especially the early ones when he just signed with New England, and my God, he seems motivated as all hell.
My problem is the wide receiver core.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
Edelman's back, obviously.
To be fair, the receiving core hasn't been stellar since about 2007.
Right, and I think that's a problem, though, because, when you look at having, playmakers and the ability to get in the end zone, teams like Cleveland, and the Chargers, that have, like the Odell Beckhams or the Allens that can get into the end zone, show, that it's a great quarterback helps, but better wide receivers are really what you need. You can make chicken shit out of chicken salad or chicken salad out of chicken shit with having a decent quarterback but great wide receivers.
Sure.
You can't make good wide receivers with a shit quarterback.
Sure. Well, I think the thing with the receiving corps, we know what we're going to get out of Edelman. At this point, you know what you're going to get. The thing is going to be interesting to see is can N'Keal Harry stay healthy? Of course, he missed part of last season with an injury, so hard to look at those numbers and judge whether he was great or not, but you look at his college numbers from ASU. For his college career, almost 3,000 yards receiving and then 21 touchdowns, so decent numbers. And then they also have Jacoby Myers, who last season, not a stellar season, 26 catches for 359, but college at NC State, 1,800 yards catching and 8 touchdowns. So the potential's there. It's just they got to figure it out.
But here's another factor you got to also think about. When Cam was in Carolina, who was his wide receiver?
Yeah, he's always had shit. Yeah, but they had the 1 year.
Benjamin?
Not Benjamin. They had the other kid who ended up leaving in free agent.
Smith?
Yeah, well, he had Steve Smith for a couple of years, but David Funches had his best season.
Yeah.
Obviously moved on to what he thought was going to be greener pastures and not so much.
Right.
Cam Newton's never had a great wide receiver, but again, you pair him and you put him with like a Keenan Allen or Michael
if you give
Evans.
Him a legit number
yeah,
one,
if you give him a legit
story.
number one, it'd be a completely different story, and that's the problem. That's part of the reason why Tom Brady opted to leave too, is that he wasn't getting talent around him. Look at the Giants. They trade Odell Beckham, and then you expect Eli Manning to be able to get the ball to wide receivers that are just, Golden Tate. Yeah, he's a nice wide receiver, but is he a number one? No, So, what do you want quarterbacks to do when you don't give them elite talent on the outside? That's why Buffalo went out and got Stefon Diggs.
Yeah, no,
that's the exact reason why.
I fully agree with you, but what my point is with this is Cam is used to working with lesser talent.
Cam's used to working with lesser talent, but he didn't have a coordinator in Carolina like McDaniels.
Exactly.
Right. And that they did have 1 year.
They had North Turner.
Yeah, they had North Turner, and they had a couple good seasons under North Turner.
Yeah.
And listen, I get what you guys are saying. I'm just saying my biggest thing is you see teams go out and shell out to get elite wide receivers. Why?
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, you need a number one if you want to go somewhere.
Yeah.
Tom Brady and the Patriots did well for a few years with not having a true, but for as good as we thought, Deion Branch was a pretty good wide receiver.
Oh yeah.
Well, Brady and Branch were on just a whole other level of understanding.
Sure.
I remember they 60 Minutes did a piece on the two of them. This was after. I think this was after Branch left, but before he came back, where they hadn't played together in several years, and they got them together on a field, and Brady was like, all right, let's run blah, 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 whatever play he chose. And they went to the line, and Brady went through his motions, and he went through his calls, and he just looked at Branch, and Branch is like, yep, he wants me to audible.
Yeah.
Yeah, so this is going to be interesting to see how Cam matches up with it, but I think more good is going to happen than bad. I think Cam will adapt to that offense.
Sure.
I think Josh McDaniel is going to describe a perfect solution for not having those elite wide receivers this year. But you still got Edelman, and I think they're working very well together, so we'll have to see. But like I said, 9-7 I think is very within reach, and I have them going to the wild card for the one spot there.
Sure.
Next up, I had the Jets at third place.
Yeah. I mean, I think they'll do better than they did last year at 7-9, but not much.
No, I actually have them regressing. I have them at 5-11.
Oh, ouch!
I have them there too.
I have zero faith in Adam Gase as a head coach. I have zero faith in Sam Darnold. I know that last year with the mono, it was what it was.
Sure,
but
I mean, they were Sam Darnold away from going to the playoffs, though.
Yeah,
true.
So,
but has he shown me enough that I think that he can compete with the Josh Allens and the Cam Newtons? For this division, I don't think he is.
Yeah.
No, I don't see
not
it.
this year at least.
Le'Veon Bell, who knows what we're going to get out of him?
Yeah,
and then you let your star defensive leader leave the team in Jamal Adams.
Mm-hmm. And they don't have an easy schedule at all.
No.
They open in the season against Buffalo. Week 2, they play the Niners. Week 3, they play the Colts. Then they play Denver, Arizona, Chargers, Buffalo again, Kansas City, New England, Miami, and then they get their bye week.
Yeah, see, my problem, it's what Ken said. It's Gase.
Yeah.
It's the coaching. I mean, you can't, there's one way to call out players, and then there's another to call out, the way that he called out Le'Veon Bell. Obviously, they quote-unquote mended that relationship. Whether that's true or not, we'll see.
Yeah.
Darnold, again, is a question mark. Obviously, went into last season with a lot of expectations. The mono, kind of hit the bricks on that.
Sure.
Played well afterwards, enough to win some games that they probably should have lost. But, I mean, at the end of the day, if they finish, at a sub record, and it's like we said in the draft show, I mean, this next year's draft is going to be the interesting one for the Jets, because if they do well, all right, do you hedge your bet on, Darnold and now invest in trying to get him some weapons, or do you, now try to rebuild and, maybe push for a Trevor Lawrence type, situation? So it's a very interesting conundrum that the Jets are in, because it is his third year, and he's the same as Josh Allen. It's just Josh Allen's had more success.
Sure. I mean, the thing with Sam Darnold is, mono last year, but I think the thing with this year is, should things go wrong, and God hope they don't, they do have Flacco as a backup now. He won't be ready for week 1. I'm looking at ESPN.com. He's listed as out right now. So assuming he does come back from whatever he's got going on, they do have that to back up. And hey, I didn't realize this. The ageless wonder is their backup running back, Frank Gore.
Yeah.
Didn't realize that's down there. I mean, the biggest question I have for them is receiving core. Jamison Crowder, had him on my fantasy team for 2 years. He ain't worth, anything. They've also, on ESPN.com, got Brashard Perriman listed as one of their starting receivers, and then Chris Hogan. Chris Hogan, good receiver, don't get me wrong. He was great in New England for
Flashes of brilliance.
Flashes of brilliance, yeah, because former lacrosse player at Penn State, I believe. But he's another Cole Beasley, Julian Edelman, type of player where he's not going to run streaks. He's not going to burn some cornerback. He's the dink and duck, just get hit in the midfield. So the running core is there, but we'll see. But just so many questions with the Jets.
Yeah, there's just nothing that excites you about the Jets that you think, okay, we're really going to contend. I'm sorry, this is how it is. Darnold needs a vast improvement and really needs to show that he was worth that high draft pick. I haven't seen it.
No.
And I don't know if we're going to see it, because with the talent around him, he's not exactly screaming playoffs.
No.
Okay. You have
I mean, not in this division.
No, not in this division.
No.
But plus, you also don't know what Le'Veon Bell you're going to get, because Pittsburgh was smart because they adapted to his running style. The Jets didn't.
But that's Case. That's again coaching. That's not anything Le'Veon Bell. It's not on Bell. He still, had flashes of brilliance last year. I mean, I saw him play, last year, multiple games, and he looked well. It's just, again, the running style. He was quote-unquote heavy going into the training camp.
Yeah.
This year, not so much. I guess he's come in a little bit better shape than he did last year with reporting. That's a question mark. And then, obviously, you let your best, player go in Jamal Adams. So, I think that's an interesting thing, too, because, he really was the cornerstone of that defense that you could build around. The safety is a position that I think given the current climate of the NFL, is a make or break position depending on what you have back there. When you have an elite playmaking safety, they are the last line of defense, and they also can be the first line of defense if they can get up in the box and be a run stopper.
Yeah.
And that is exactly what Jamal Adams was. You could send him on the blitz. You could send him back deep in coverage, man-to-man, could play the slot. So, you lose a guy like that, what do you have back there now? And that's a huge question mark for the Jets.
You really don't have anything, and that's where I think is really going to hurt them. Could I see them flip-flopping with Miami at this position? Absolutely.
Yeah.
You could, but they both could end up in the bottom. They could both go 5-10 or 5-11.
Yeah.
Because for me, I had Miami going 4-12, and and like I said, this could go either way because what Brian Flores is trying to do down in Miami, he just doesn't have the talent down there.
No,
right,
and it's not on him. I think that he's tried working the best they can, but Miami just is not putting it together. I'm going to try being as unbiased as I can be because everybody knows my dislike for the Dolphins as a Bills fan.
No, you love them.
Oh, yeah, they're just my favorite team. But with that being said, they did go out. They drafted Tua very high. Mm-hmm. He's not playing week 1, which is smart.
Yeah.
They're going to put in Fitzmagic.
Yep.
And then what do you have around him? You have a brand new running back core, Jordan Howard? And Matt Barea?
Yep.
Other than that, who do you have on that offense that scares you?
They've got
Devontae Parker.
Yeah, they got Devontae Parker, who, looking at his stats from last year, 72 catches, 1,202 yards, good for 5th in the league.
And that was with you, me, and Ken on the other side of him.
I'll say, I did read some rumors that at one point last year I was the emergency backup quarterback in Miami, and he had 9 touchdowns last year, which was tied for 4th in the NFL. So he's got Devontae Parker, who's pretty decent. They've also got Preston Williams at wide receiver, who stats nothing flashy, 32 catches, 428 yards, and 3 touchdowns. They also list Jakeem Grant as one of their receivers. I won't even read the stats because, they're worse than Preston Williams.
Saw him. Okay.
Yeah, they're bad. 164 yards catching all of last year.
Coach?
Yeah, this Miami team is just not very good.
No,
there's no sugarcoating it, but what you see right now is pieces that are being built and blocks that are being cemented, for the future. Obviously, Tua was the first move of that building towards the future. They made a huge investment in Eric Flowers, who was, the shunned giant starting left tackle who resurged in Washington by switching to left guard and, saved his career with that ability to adapt to a new position that he had never played before. And really play. He signed a monster deal. So, good for him because obviously as a Giant fan, was livid at Eric Flowers and cursed his name many of times. Devontae Parker, obviously, is an elite wide receiver. You talk about, the number one type of guys. Him and Tua are going to have their time, in the future. And then you look at the fact that their defense, has a bunch of guys who are older, but have, 1-year deals, 2-year deals that can go out there and chase, their next contracts. Shaq Lawson, Kyle Van Noy, who had a very solid, quiet year last year.
That one hurt.
Given the fact that it is a bad Miami defense, they were giving up points, but Kyle Van Noy still played well.
Kyle Van Noy's a great player.
Yeah, so it's not that I dislike this Miami team. It's just there isn't enough pieces surrounding those names that I just mentioned to get them over the hump. So I have them finishing bottom of the AFC East as well.
Bottom of the AFC East, they got the pieces there, and I'm going to gush a little bit with Kyle Van Noy.
Have your time.
He was great in New England. He does a lot of stuff on that defense that doesn't show up in the statistics and in the box score, so to say. He does a lot for you that just doesn't show up there. I think that's great. That if you're a Miami fan, that's a great pickup for you guys. Hope he works out well for you. I truly do. But like you said, the pieces are there. It's smart for them to have Tua sit week 1, sponge.
Yeah.
Soak up that. Why send a guy out there when you're not going to do very well?
Well, that's the thing, and I think that's the biggest. When we talk Miami, that's what we should talk about. What week do we put Tua in? What is, because he's going to play this year. There's no way they're going to sit him out the entire season. I know that he's coming off that hip injury, but obviously he sat out most of last year. He was 100% cleared and everything. So you make the investment to play him, and I know that you have a very solid veteran quarterback ahead of him, but at the same time, that's a very solid veteran quarterback that understands how to hold a clipboard.
Yeah, so it's going to be an interesting process what they do with Tua. I think that if Miami starts out 0-3, we'll see him week 4.
When's their bye week?
Week 11. So
that's too long.
That's too long.
And I don't see a good point to put him in because he's going to get eaten like a shark.
Oh yeah.
Week 1 is against New England. Week 2 against Buffalo. Week 3 against Jacksonville. Then they play Seattle, San Francisco, Denver, Chargers, Rams, Cardinals, and the Jets. And then they have their bye week.
Yeah.
I mean, week 3, if anything, would be the ideal week.
Right.
And if not, then you got to wait till the bye week.
It's a primetime game, Thursday night.
It'll be a huge task for Miami to do, but like I say, I don't see him doing any moves this year. I think, unfortunately, they're going to finish in last, and probably Flores loses his job. Not wishing it, mind you.
No,
but I think.
I don't think they do that. I think that they're building this team right now in his image.
I hope so, because I mean, like I say, I think he's a good coach. I really do, but I just think that if they go through another bad losing season, they might be very ready to go, and I don't think it's fair to him because like he inherited a bad team. He tried to instill in the Patriots way in.
Inherited a bad team is an understatement.
I definitely understand what you're saying, with that notion, but I think that and there was a lot of grumbling in the locker room last year, of unhappy players and a lot of talks that he might get fired. A lot of that bad juju is gone now.
Yeah,
a lot of those players that when you look at this roster aren't there. I mean, really, the only returners are Ryan Fitzpatrick, Devontae Parker, and maybe some secondary, and Kyle Van Noy, but he's a Patriot Way guy.
Yeah.
So there might be some secondary player that, I'm not super familiar with Miami that might still be on the team, but those are 3 names that I know of that were on the team last year that are back.
Yeah.
So a lot of those players that you did know that were on the team are now gone. So, he's building his locker room. So I think that they'll give him this year and next. And then after that 4th year, would be a 4th year.
Yeah.
That will be, either you've turned this around to as your starting quarterback from week 1 on, and you go from there, or, they fire him after next year.
Well, and I think if you want to have a successful career in Miami and not get shipped off someplace else to have a very successful career.
A very better career.
Yeah. You want to keep Flores there. You want him to stay under one system and one play because you don't want to give him the Alex Smith treatment.
Well, I mean, to be fair though, Alex Smith's been very successful.
Right, he's been very successful. But how in 5 years, how many coaches?
Oh, he had 5.
Oh no,
he had 5. He had 5 coordinators in 5 years.
I think for a guy that's a rookie in the NFL, it's not good to have him come under a head coach, learn an entire year, fire that head coach, and go, that entire year you just spent learning things. Yeah, forget all that.
Hey, Daniel Jones is dealing with that right now.
It's true.
We'll talk about that when we get to the Browns. Which, to wrap up about the AFC East, though, we got the Bills going first, Patriots second, wild card for. I think most of us took for the wild card.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
The Jets in Miami are going to be outside looking in.
Yep.
Looking now at the AFC North.
Mm-hmm.
So we got the Baltimore Ravens, Pittsburgh Steelers, Cleveland Browns, and Cincinnati Bengals.
Yep.
So, Coach, start us off. Who you got?
So I've got the Ravens winning the division again.
Sure.
I mean, didn't really lose much and only gained pieces. So, I mean, you have to consider that Lamar Jackson, as elite as he was last year, is only going to take the step in the next direction. I think, their wide receiver core, Snead and Marquise Brown, Miles Boykin is going to be in the mix too. Notre Dame guy. I really, like what they're doing, what they have offensively. And then obviously it's Baltimore, so their defense is always going to be stout. Obviously they had a few hiccups last year in some games, but I definitely think that they're in a position to make a run. And the only question I have is the running back position. That's it. That's the only thing. That's the where you got to say, all right, what do they have at running back? Mark Ingram?
Yeah.
But that's it. J.K. Dobbins, they went out and drafted. I mean, Aaron's a big Ohio State fan, so I had to sit through a lot of those shitty-ass games. I love you, honey, but I hate Ohio State. And that guy's an absolute beast.
Yeah.
So, eventually he's going to take over the lead back, and that offense is only going to kick it up into a high gear.
Mm-hmm. No, yeah, I think Baltimore's going to repeat. I don't see any reason why they shouldn't, barring some sort of injury. I don't hope that on anybody. But I think Pittsburgh's still going to finish in second place. And then I think Cleveland finished third last year, and then Cincinnati finished last year. I think that's going to flip. I think with, what's his name, the quarterback, if they number 1.
Baker?
No.
Oh, Joe Burrow.
Burrow, thank you. I think Burrow is going to do dividends for that team. They're going to do a lot better than 2-14. I think they're going to finish in third place, and then Cleveland, unfortunately, finish in fourth place.
So for me, I have the Ravens winning outright. I think they're going to go about 12-4.
Okay.
Lamar Jackson, most exciting player in football, would you say?
Yes.
I mean, debatable with Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, on the ground, yeah. I mean, I think it's through the air that is the question mark. And, I mean, I know, I don't want to sound like that guy. I'm just saying, like, he was inconsistent when passing the ball. You know what I mean, yes, his passer rating was higher, but when you're only throwing 20 passes 20 to 25, your passer rating's going to be a little bit higher because you're not throwing the ball as much. So,
and that's what they got.
I mean, that's what it is. Yeah, it is what it is. I mean, when he can rush 10 times and gain 120 yards, what are you going to do? You're going to run the ball. I mean, that's smart.
Yeah, that's how Baltimore does. And like I say, I think they work it effective. And like you touched upon, they didn't have any key losses this year. They've only gotten better. In the running back position, I mean, it's tough. But when you have a mobile quarterback such as Jackson, who can really take a lot of pressure off Mark Ingram and the rest of the running back core, that does help. I understand, though, about the wide receiver core. I mean, Hollywood Brown is a great up-and-coming receiver, but is Lamar Jackson really taking that step to become a passer? He hasn't had to yet, and it's not a knock by any means. It's just we haven't seen if he has to really get into a shootout per se with a Patrick Mahomes or a Josh Allen or one of the more elite quarterbacks, Deshaun Watson. We haven't had to see that yet. That's going to be the key factor. But I think the Ravens are so solid on both sides of the ball. 12-4 should be an easy thing for them.
I'd say so.
And Jackson's only going to get better. I mean, that's the one thing. He's part of that group of Sam Darnold, Baker Mayfield, Josh Allen, Josh Rosen, of all those quarterbacks that are now in year 3. Look at what Lamar has done thus far. And this is only going to be his third year running the team. So I say, sky is a huge limit for him. And like I say, I have them going 12-4. I think they'll easily do that. Second, I have the Steelers going 10-6.
I didn't realize we were doing it this way, so I agree with you. Okay? Yeah. I have also the Steelers. I also have them as my wild card.
Okay.
Same here.
Yep.
And no, we have not looked at each other's list. I just want to point that out for our listeners. I have Big Ben fully healed up. I think he's going to be really ready to go. Juju, that's the only one I don't know what we're going to get out of him.
Yeah.
Okay. I believe this is a contract year for him.
Could be. I'll look it up.
So if he's really motivated to get some steps in, sure. It all goes through Big Ben, though, and if he gets hurt, and like I say, right now he's healthy, he's looking great from all the reports I've seen.
He's also 38 years old.
Yeah, but he's also on that side of Father Time. So if he can really get that Antonio Brown magic going again with Juju, I think they'll be okay. And I think with Connors, obviously, will be having another good year.
Well, he needs to have a bounce back year.
Yeah, he needs to have one, but he needs, like I say, too much consistency or lack thereof was the issue last year. So
just looked it up. It is a contract year for Juju.
Yeah, so he's definitely going to try balling out, and I think that this is where the Steelers might have a little questions of how much they're going to do on offense, but I think though Big Ben covers a lot of wounds up.
I mean, so here's my thing. Yes, Pittsburgh, very solid. Big Ben, going to have a comeback year, probably look very comfortable and healthy. It's the running game that's going to separate them. I mean, obviously James Conner went down last year, and it was kind of a Bobby Snell Jr. and Jalen Samuels, mix, but that didn't work very well. And obviously when you lost Big Ben and then you lose James Conner, and Juju Smith didn't play as well last year, what do you have after that? I mean, I think this year Connors can bounce back, stay healthy. Now you can use Snell and Samuels more of a relief, to Connors to help keep him healthy in the longevity. I think that will help them stretch his season out and be able to keep the ball on the ground, eliminating Big Ben's need to throw, downfield as much or have the ball as much. But then, I mean, the wide receiver core, I mean, they went out and I think they got one of the steals of this draft, which is Chase Claypool out of Notre Dame. Notre Dame homer here, I know, but I'm just saying, like, he's a 6'6" wide receiver who can go get the goddamn ball.
And that's what Ben needs.
And that's exactly what Big Ben needs. And this dude, I mean, I saw him make plays against elite corners, in some of these games, and this dude just goes after it. Jump balls, what have you. He will put his body on the line. I wanted the Giants to draft this kid, not even for the fact that he was from Notre Dame, but just the simple fact that you don't see 6'6" wide receivers as much as you used to.
No.
And especially 6'6" wide receivers who will go get the ball. He's a physical guy. I mean, not only was he Notre Dame's number one wide receiver, he was also their number one special teams guy on punt punt and kickoff. You don't see that very often. So, I mean, he's a ball hawk, so I think Roethlisberger and him, he's going to be quiet to start. It's not going to be, the breakout rookie season of like a Ridley or, a Julio Jones type style. But slowly, incrementally, he's going to start, building some confidence. And I mean, if you have room to stash on your fantasy roster, that's a guy that I would definitely tuck away. Especially if you like, Ken, you and I are in Keeper League. That's somebody that you might want to, if you have room to stash away for next season and the seasons after that, because he's only going to get better.
Yeah, and obviously in the system they have in Pittsburgh, if you're a tall wide receiver, you're going to get the ball. I mean, that's what Big Ben works with, but they also have to start looking at the future too.
Yeah.
Because
I mean, quarterback-wise, I mean, they showed you last year. I mean, Duck Hodges and Mason Rudolph are not your answer.
No, definitely not. And I think both are gone this year, if I'm not mistaken, because they just released Hodges.
The Hodges, but Rudolph's still there.
Okay, Rudolph might still be there, but either way, for Big Ben, the Steelers to work, they have to work together, and Big Ben needs to stay healthy. It's the big question mark at this stage.
And I mean, defensively though, they're a very good defense.
Yeah,
I mean, they haven't lost anything. I mean, Minka Fitzpatrick, made the Steelers look like the really smart end of that trade because he went out and balled out after getting out of Miami last year. Yeah. You talk about a guy, new scenery, grass is greener, and that was him because he had a resurgence late in the year because people were writing him off as a bust. Pittsburgh goes out and throws a second and fifth round, down to Miami. All of a sudden, now this kid comes out and he's one of the best players in the NFL.
Yeah, it definitely helps that he's got T.J. Watt, who had an emergence last year, and is going to make Pittsburgh's defense solid. Like I said, I got them 10-6. My other wild card. Looking at the rest of the division, Coach, who you got?
So after that, I guess I'm going to go Cleveland, just because of the fact that they're in the mix. They've got a lot of elite talent. Number one guys, maybe some number two guys.
See what you did there.
Thank you. And, obviously defensively, they're going to be better. Myles Garrett, I think, is going to be hungry this year, especially after the controversy that was last year. So I think he's going to come out looking to, just take guys' heads off. I'm just full of the puns right now.
As long as he doesn't come out swinging.
And Olivier Vernon kind of had a resurgence, a really quiet, solid year last year, especially once Myles Garrett went down, which was weird. You would have think that, the attention would have been shifted to Vernon and he would have slowed down, but he still had a quietly good year. And Claiborne's there. Defensively, the secondary, Denzel Ward, an elite number one, shutdown type corner. So, I mean, they've got really solid pieces. I mean, obviously, offensively, they're stout. It's just coaching.
Yeah.
It comes down to, again, they go out and they get an offensive coordinator that has zero head coaching experience who comes in, with this really cool, calm demeanor. And it'll be very interesting to see what that does to these players because they just had that the year before and it didn't work very well.
Pat?
Yeah, no, I think Cleveland is going to be very interesting to see what they do because, like you said, they've got the talent, but whether they can deliver on it is yet to be seen. There have been flashes of brilliance, but there's also been flashes of utter crap. I looked to the game last year against the Patriots where they turned over the ball on 3 consecutive passes. For as good as they should be with Nick Chubb at running back, Odell Beckham Jr. at receiver, Jarvis Landry at receiver, Austin Hooper at tight end. On paper, and then you got Baker at quarterback. You look at that team and you go, you know what? On paper, that's not a bad team.
Right.
But then you just look at the results. I just don't think, I don't think you know what you're going to get out of them.
I fully agree. And this is why I have the Browns 8-8. Because to me, they image a lot of what Atlanta is for me.
Because Atlanta?
What is Atlanta? Because with this team, you have a lot of high draft picks. Mm-hmm. You have Baker Mayfield.
It's a lot of talent.
There's so much talent. Yeah. But, which we mentioned earlier, how many coaches has Baker gone through?
A lot.
Three, 4?
3 in 3 years.
Yeah.
At least.
Yeah.
So now you got Kevin Stefanski taking over the helm. Whole new system.
Wasn't even their first choice.
Wasn't their first choice, as Coach touched upon.
Wasn't their second choice.
So the structure that the Browns are in right now, they're in flux. I think that's the honest way to put it. Obviously, letting go of Dorsey as the GM, and I know the front office has been making some very interesting moves. We don't know how it's going to pan out. But I think the headlines that you have to look at for this team is what Baker Mayfield are you going to get? The one that ignited the NFL his first year, or the one that regressed so much in his second year but was already screaming bust?
I mean, I don't think it was his regression as much as it was just the coaching decisions.
Well, I think it was
and
a
play calling.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, listen, you don't have Jarvis Landry and Odell Beckham and not be an elite quarterback. I mean, they just make you good by default. And, I mean, unfortunately, you know, they offensively didn't have the play calling that got these guys in positions to get open. I mean, and yeah, all right, Baker did not have the best season in the world, but I don't think that's him.
No.
I don't think it's him. And, I mean, personally, again, we thought Mike McCarthy would have been the right choice for Cleveland.
Perfect.
I mean, but obviously he wanted nothing to do with that job, and you know, it's a little bit because of what was left in the chaos of the aftermath of, you know, what's his face, who got fired from Cleveland and is now the Giants' offensive line coach, which is
Freddie Kitchens.
Yeah, Freddie Kitchens, which is where he should be. He was not ready for that spot, and you know, tough. It's hard. I mean, I get it. I had a guy, you know, in the Giants that wasn't ready for a head coaching position either, and now we are where we are. You know, so. I like Cleveland, and I want them to do well. You know, like, this is a team that now at this point you want them to do well because of how much talent they have and because we do like Baker.
Yeah.
But, damn it, they won't.
Well, it all comes down to, are they going to buy into Stefanski's ideals? Mm-hmm. And if Baker does, I expect him to have a bounce-back year. Am I saying MVP? No. Could he be a candidate for most improved player? Absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
But he really has to utilize the talent around him. They have to make better play calling. The defense needs to play better, but with Garrett back in a full season, like Coach touched on, I think now he's going to have a big chip on his shoulder and ready to do some damage. Especially they just paid him too.
Yeah.
Right.
So he's got to start earning that paycheck.
Yeah.
So with the Browns, you never know what you're going to get. I mean, another factor is Odell Beckham Jr.
Yeah.
Half the time we're hearing he wants out of Cleveland. The other half we're hearing he loves it and wants to stay there for life.
Yeah, I mean, that's been quiet this offseason, which has been kind of refreshing.
Yeah.
Really. No, I mean, it hasn't been taught. Last year, going in, like, during the end of the season, it was, you know, he's going up to players and he's saying he wanted out.
Yeah.
But then since that point, it really hasn't been much talk.
No, so this is where the Browns structure needs to really rally this team and get them going because – like I say, they're currently the third best team in that division. I think that's a very honest and fair statement.
Yep.
They should be the number one with all the talent they have.
Hey, there's no reason they shouldn't be.
But they haven't put it together yet. Is this going to be the year? I don't know.
No.
I don't see them getting to the playoffs.
God, no.
But you never know. Crazier stuff has happened.
Sure.
There's always one dark horse team that makes a run. I don't think it's Cleveland, though.
No.
I really don't.
No.
I also don't think it's the Bengals.
No, it's not.
No.
The Bengals have Joe Burrow. That's it.
Very good player.
Very good player.
That we'll have to see how he handles.
No, they got A.J. Green still.
Yeah.
And Joe Mixon.
They have some talent.
I mean, they can mix.
They have some talent, but I have them going 7-9.
Yeah, listen, I mean, Joe Burrow's as talented as he is. Also, let's not forget, had a very, very talented LSU team surrounding him.
Yeah,
very true.
That's not what he's walking into at Cincinnati.
No, definitely not.
A.J. Green was, you know, not the same A.J. Green of yesteryear, and Father Time, you know, and injuries have kind of caught up to him. Joe Mixon and Giovanni Bernard was not the 1-2 combo that they had been before. You know, and unfortunately, Andy Dalton caught a lot of the flack for that. That wasn't necessarily his fault because he wasn't playing with, you know, his deck stacked. You know, he was playing with his chips down. And, I mean, defensively, you look at the pieces that they got. Geno Atkins is, you know, a solid defensive, defensive tackle. You know, and outside of that, they really don't have much on the defense that really, you know, on paper, and, you know, not being a diehard, you know, Bengals fan sitting here looking at it, making me too worried. So, I mean, they're probably going to give up some points, safe to say. Probably not going to be able to put a ton of points up because of a rookie quarterback that, you know, just isn't going to have the same talent around him in the same system. And, you know, they're probably going to regress a little bit this year, and, you know, we'll have to see what happens next year.
Fully agree.
Yeah, no, I think the Bengals will be able to scrap and they'll be able to, like, keep it in the mix a little bit. But when it comes to, like, a barn burner shootout, you know, because I don't see the defense getting huge stops and I don't see the defense being anything even near to shut down. You know, when it comes to being in a shootout with whoever they're playing against this week, or, you know, in the week they're playing, if it comes down to it, you know, which offense is better, sorry, I'm going to pick whoever is playing the Bengals.
Yeah, no, it's a fact. I mean, Burrow, we're going to have to see what kind of quarterback he is. He's unfortunately going to get thrown right into the fire. Yeah. And he's got a very tough road ahead of him.
I mean, I don't think that that's the wrong move either because I think his mentality is a similar of a Baker, where he wants to have the ball in his hands and has that mentality of, I'm a winner, so I'm going to go out there and I'm going to win. It's just the problem is that he's not going to do that a lot. Now, am I going to choose them a lot during? Are they going to be my lone, that weak team that I'm going to, pick on during my locks and leaps? Probably not, because as much as I'm sitting here saying that they're not going to do well, they could definitely, mess around and be in some games.
Oh yeah,
especially if a team takes them down. So
yeah, looking at their schedule, they opening up against the Chargers, then they play Cleveland, Philly, Jacksonville, Baltimore, Indianapolis, Cleveland, Tennessee, and then they have their bye week at week 9.
So all that being said, I think it's pretty clear-cut where the Bengals are going to wind up. And just to recap, too, our AFC North predictions, I think we all had Baltimore winning the division.
Yes.
Steelers at 2, Browns at 3, Bengals at 4.
Steelers 2 with a wild card.
Yes, I agree with that. Pad?
Not sure yet. I'm still thinking that.
All right. Fair enough. Well, we gave you the AFC East and gave you the AFC North this segment, so we're going to take a quick break and then come back and talk the AFC South and AFC West on our NFL preview edition of the ODPH.
Welcome to Strikes My Fancy, the discussion-based podcast about everything that, well, you guessed it, strikes my fancy. Every Friday, I bring a guest to the table to talk about something new and interesting, from craziest fandom theories to mental health awareness and every little thing in between. No topic is off limits. Send your topic ideas to strikesmyfancypodcast@gmail.com or drop me a line and let me know you want to be on the show. So tell me, what strikes your fancy?
This is Rich, the host of the Three Fat Nerds podcast and co-host of the Horror Zone 607 podcast, and you are listening to our hashtag 607 podcast brothers, the Ocho Duro Parlay Hour. Now kick it back over to Ken Moneybags and the crew.
Coming back for this special edition of the ODPH podcast, talking the NFL preview. We are going over all the divisions of the AFC, and now we're going to the AFC South.
Yep.
So, Coach, take us away.
All right, so I have the Tennessee Titans winning this division again, or running away with this division again, guys. See what I did there? Derrick Henry back, obviously, just going to run the ball down everybody's throat. I'm going to go with the Colts second. The whole quarterback thing with Phillip Rivers and Jacoby Brissett, I'm not 100% sold on yet, but defensively they were pretty stout last year. Obviously a very good offensive line. Houston going to be third. You lose your number one wide receiver for a running back who had been inconsistent at best, with leaning towards Will Fuller, who, as much as I love as a Notre Dame guy, can't stay healthy. So if you're putting your basket, your hat, or your stuff in one basket with him, might not work out. And then last, rounding up the division, obviously Jacksonville, and that's Jacksonville.
Yeah.
Pat?
I think Tennessee's going to win the division here, although not through running. I think they will definitely run the ball, but I think that you can only do that. Worked great in the playoffs where you're playing like 3-4 games and then you're over and done with, but I don't think you can do that on a consistent basis for the next 5 months. So it'll be interesting to see if Tennessee can find other ways to score the ball, because Derrick Henry's good, but he can't run the ball 48 times 16 weeks out of the year. They got a receiving core of A.J. Brown, Corey Davis, and Adam Humphries, and then Jonnu Smith is their tight end. I'm sorry, I'm looking at who for all of them. Not exactly drafting them on my fantasy team. And then on the flip side, I think Houston is going to finish in second place, but it might be by a game or two. I'm looking at them, like you mentioned, Deshaun Watson just signed that mega contract down there. So he's locked up for long term. Running back core decent. Nothing scaring me, though, with David Johnson and then Duke Johnson. And then, like you mentioned, their receiving core, Will Fuller, Kenny Stills. They've also got Brandon Cooks, although Cooks hasn't been good for at least a year or two.
Yeah, he's been right in a couple of years.
And then you got an older Randall Cobb. You got Randall Cobb down there, who at 30 years old, coming off not a great year last year, only 828 yards and 3 touchdowns. Might have been injured. I'm pulling that up now, but so I think they're going to finish in second place. After that, going to be the Indianapolis Colts. Phillip Rivers is a good quarterback. Their defense is pretty decent, but just Marlon Mack, not a bad running back. He's okay, but you look at the receiving core. T.Y. Hilton, pretty decent wide receiver, but it's just everything else. I'm looking at that. I'm going, I don't know if they can stay in it.
Yeah.
And then obviously rounding out the division, the Jacksonville Jaguars, because outside of Gardner Minshew II, I cannot name you one person on that offensive roster.
For me, this division, you can honestly flip a coin for who's going to win it.
That's true most years.
Yeah, this one is really not standing out, but I'm giving the edge to Houston.
Okay.
And I will explain why. Even though losing DeAndre Hopkins is huge, and huge is an understatement.
Yeah.
They still have Deshaun Watson, who, looking at the rest of the quarterbacks in this division, he's still the best one.
Oh, obviously.
And I think that is going to help win them a couple games that they shouldn't win. I think that they're going to come in there, and like you touched upon, with Will Fuller, I think he's going to have a bigger year, and he's going to definitely need to pick up the slack. Can he stay healthy? That's ultimately the question. Same thing with Kenny Stills. Brandon Cooks, like I said, hasn't been right in a couple of years. Like, he hasn't been that elite receiver, but he's still a threat. So for what Deshaun Watson needs, I think he's going to help move the chains.
Yeah.
The running back game, David Johnson either needs to be a fantasy beast or he is a bust, and it's a wrap. And this will go down in one of the worst trades in NFL history, in my opinion. I'm just saying it right now.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
No, you don't need to predict. Yes.
Yeah. And I'll even say this, for a fantasy sleeper, take Duke Johnson.
Okay.
Because chances are, and I'm not wishing this on him by any stretch of the imagination, but David Johnson has not been able to stay healthy in a few years.
I mean, it's just the simple facts.
Yeah.
Like, you're talking about one of the all-time best wide receivers, a guy who 2 years ago didn't drop a pass.
Right.
You trade for, a running back who
had one good year.
Yeah, one good ends on the other side of 26.
Yeah.
Which, in running back age, you might as well be 38.
So he's 28 years old. His first year in the league, he's played with Arizona up to this point. First year in the league, he ran for 581 yards. Second year was his one good year. He ran for just over 1,200 yards. Third year ran for 23 yards. I think he got hurt that year.
Yeah, he did.
And then in 2018, he ran for 940 yards. And then in 2019, he ran for 345 yards.
So he got hurt last year.
He got hurt again, too.
Yeah, and a grand total of 33 touchdowns for his career.
So, I guess if you're going on this theory and this pattern that we've had here, watch out. David Johnson's going to run for over 700 yards.
And if you're sitting there thinking, oh, but he's a dual threat. He can run. He can catch. Yeah, catch what? He hasn't cracked 1,000 yards receiving in his entire NFL career, and he's got 15 total touchdown catches for his entire career. So not exactly striking fear.
No, like I said, so Deshaun Watson, a lot's going to ride on him. But I think he's that elite of a quarterback that he can win a couple games that he should.
Yeah.
My problem is the Will Fuller thing.
Yeah.
His hamstring, the way that he runs, obviously an elite speed burner, his hamstring gets tugged a little bit, and then he's out for 3 to 4 weeks, and, Kenny Stills?
No, but that's why I think Brandon Cooks will alleviate some of that, because, they're the same, they're the same receiver. Like, that's the thing. They're just going to run streaks all down the field.
Right, but, is Brandon Cooks still enough? When we talk about elite, let's think about the teams that we are saying are going to finish the top of their division. Mm-hmm. What do they all have in common? Good wide receivers.
And Cooks is currently listed as questionable because of quadriceps, according to ESPN.com. He wasn't present during the part of Tuesday's practice open to the media.
Well, I think, though, going on that, I think you're right, but I also think, is he serviceable enough for Deshaun Watson? I'm not saying great.
Sure.
But is he serviceable? I think he is for how they do
their offense. He had Tom Brady as a quarterback, and it wasn't exactly all that stellar.
But that's what I said. Can he do enough to help them win? Yes. Is he the cherry on the sundae, though? No.
When I look at this division, I look at what Tennessee did and can do. I still think that they're gonna run the ball 40+ times.
Oh, I'm sure they are.
And I'm sure Derrick Henry's gonna do just fine doing it. And I think their defense is enough to stop that Houston offense that, they're going to win some games that they shouldn't just because of clock management.
See, the one thing about Tennessee, and I have them tied for second with Indy. It's like I said, this was literally a coin flip.
Sure.
With Tennessee, is Cinderella's time at the ball done? Because they surprised everybody last year. Ryan Tannehill resurgence. Derrick Henry was a beast, and don't get me wrong, he was the monster that everybody made him out to be, and he backed it up every week. How much tread is still on that tires? That's a question.
To be fair, you can say Ryan Tannehill resurgence, but that was after only passing the ball for 10 times in a game.
Exactly.
And with Derrick Henry as a running back, he can make me look like Joe Montana in his prime.
Well, that's the thing that we don't know, because if it comes down to where defenses are now going to stack the box,
to try
stopping.
But they stacked the box last year.
But but now it's everybody kind of knows what they're going to do, and that's the one thing.
And that's the thing is, it works great when nobody's expecting it, and you can do it for 3 weeks, but you can't keep up a pace of 48, 50 plus carries for 16 games.
Exactly. Eventually, it's going.
The legs
to
are going
to
fall off.
Yeah, that's the one problem. So can Tennessee adapt? That's going to be the big X factor for me.
I honestly, if you look at Ryan Tannehill's stats, though, and I got into it with a Tennessee fan on Twitter, and my God, he was trying to educate me. If you look at Tannehill's stats, he actually was in the top 10 for a lot of stats that are outside of completion percentage, just because he was throwing only 10 passes a game. You know what I mean? Like, he actually was, QBR rating, efficiency rating, third down conversion rating. Like, all those stats were actually up in the top 10. So, you talk about, a guy who might have been quote-unquote clock managing. He did what he needed to do.
He did, like you say, he did what he needed to do, and you have to look at the attempts to ratio. That was the only thing.
I know that's the thing. That's what I kept pointing to the Tennessee fan, but he was like, okay, take away his attempt percentage, and you look at the other stats outside of his attempts per game, and his shit is actually top 10.
Oh, no, it managed up, and I think he surprised a lot of people. I do. But can he do it again? I don't know. It's like Tennessee is one of the most puzzling teams to me, and I'm not meaning this in a negative sense, but they surprised a lot of people last year and a lot of teams.
Sure.
Can they do this magic again? I don't know. And because the NFL is very quick about picking up on what teams are doing.
Yeah, but when, you make that point, and they still beat the shit out of teams last year.
Oh, they did last year.
And they did it to one of the best coaches of all time.
Oh, yeah, Vrabel got the best of Belichick.
Which I know that his stats against former assistants isn't great.
Yeah.
But still, though, you talk about a Belichick who is a defensive-minded guru and knew that they were going to run Derrick Henry 40 times.
Yeah.
And he still couldn't stop him.
But that's the question, that can they do it again? Like, that's the overall point I'm making with Tennessee.
I don't think so.
Can they do it again? I don't think they can. But who knows? They might surprise. Because there's always one team that comes out of nowhere that surprises everybody.
Sure.
Tennessee was that team last year.
Not going to be Jacksonville.
It sure the hell ain't going to be Jacksonville. Like, Indy, I know Phillip Rivers has taken over the helm. I know they got the great rookie running back Jonathan Taylor.
Yeah.
Is it going to be enough to really generate some buzz?
No.
I don't think so. And I think that Rivers will make that team better.
Jonathan Taylor's going to have a lot of fun running behind that offensive line, though.
Yeah, as I said, he's going to have a monster year, I think. But other than that, there's nothing really that screams championship run or playoffs with Indy.
Nope.
And then Jacksonville.
Yeah.
No, sorry, Jacksonville fans, but we're not going to cover you much, so just move on.
There's no Fournette. There's no Yannick. There's Gardner Minshew.
I'm literally looking at their depth chart, and like I said, outside of Gardner Minshew II, Keenan Cole, that's not even the right person. I've never heard of anybody on this offensive line, and I'm even counting guards and tackles.
Yeah, so this one, I have Jacksonville going 2-14.
They are on the descent for Trevor Lawrence.
Yeah, it's tank for Trevor.
Yeah.
I'm thinking they're going to get one win if they're lucky.
No, they'll sneak out one. They usually play well against Indianapolis. Like, they'll be one of the teams they beat. And then they'll get a fluke win, like against a playoff-worthy team.
No, this is a very bad team.
Oh, they're an awful team.
This is a very bad team.
Because the AFC South is playing the NFC North.
Straight cutting Fournette, not getting anything back. The haul that they got back for Yannick was depressing as a Giants fan, looking at the fact that, Giants desperately need a pass rusher. And everybody was like, oh, Jacksonville's only going to take a first-round pick. And they trade him for a second.
Well, like I said, the management down in Jacksonville, in my opinion.
Their focuses are elsewhere.
Yes.
You look at their schedule. You look at Jacksonville's schedule coming out of their bye week, which is week 7. They play the Chargers, Texans, Packers, Steelers, Browns, Vikings, Titans, Ravens, Bears, and then Colts to close out the year.
Yeah, it's just not.
They might steal a win against the Browns. That's it.
Yeah, they might, but listen.
But they shouldn't.
No, they shouldn't. They are obviously. A lot of people were reporting that this was a direct attempt to try and land Trevor Lawrence, and I can't deny it. I wouldn't. You look at this on paper, and you have to agree.
Yeah. So that being said, I think we had actually our first disagreement with there.
Tennessee.
So, Tennessee and Houston.
I have Tennessee, Houston, Colts, Jacksonville, and the only team Tennessee making it.
Pat?
I don't even remember who I had, so skip me.
Yeah, Pat is too focused on the Patriots.
Yeah.
No, but for me, like I said, I had Houston winning the division outright, and then, like, honestly, you could coin flip between Tennessee and Indy for me. Jacksonville is just going to be a dumpster fire. I'm sorry.
Sure.
There's no other way around that. Now, let us get to the West.
Mm-hmm.
Pat?
So you've got the Kansas City Chiefs, the reigning, defending, undisputed champs of the entire NFL, who finished 12-4 last year. The Denver Broncos in that division, who finished 7-9. You've got the LA Raiders, who finished tied for second place at 7-9, and then you've got the LA Chargers, who finished last at 5-11.
Coach?
I'm going Kansas City. I'm going Denver. I am going the Chargers, and then I'm going the Raiders. And Kansas City, obviously, just defending Super Bowl champions. I don't think that the Super Bowl rust is going to be there. I think they have too much talent offensively to have the Super Bowl rust. Defensively, obviously, Steve Spagnuolo back as defensive coordinator. One of my all-time favorite defensive coordinators. Honey Badger's still back there to make plays. Up front, they're still very stellar. Went out and signed Chris Jones to that monster deal, trying to build up that defensive line. Denver, I think, is going to be sneaky good. I mean, they showed stretches last year, especially with the rookie, quarterback in Drew Lock, who played really well. They went out and they got Jerry Jeudy, who, although is not an elite pass-catching wide receiver, is a very good, talented wide receiver who, if he makes plays, is going to get in the end zone. Obviously, defensively, one of the better defenses in all of the NFL. The Chargers, I like to call them the Notre Dame West because they have so many goddamn Notre Dame players on it that I can't help but cheer for them. But I'm not sold on, Tyrod Taylor being a guy who can carry a team late into the playoff race. Not to say that I don't think he's a talented quarterback, because I think he's done very well where he's been. Obviously that year that he had in Buffalo was tremendous. I just don't think that in this tough West division that is enough to carry you over the hump, as far as premier talent. Defensively, they're very good, though. Obviously, that front four, very formidable as far as pass rushing, an elite level to pass rush, especially when you got Bosa on one side, and Ingram on the other. So they're going to be very good defensively. Offensively, I'm not necessarily sold on it. And then, the Raiders.
Yeah.
They're building. They obviously have put some pieces in place that, are going to make them a tough team. And, I definitely think that they're going to, slip some teams up, in the race. I just don't think that they have enough talent offensively to carry them some games. And obviously defensively, they were very bad last year. Yeah. So I think that ultimately is going to burn them in the long run.
Pat?
Yeah, I think the Kansas City Chiefs are obviously going to repeat as division champs. Haven't changed much. Nothing's different. The only thing different is Patrick Mahomes got engaged. Outside of that, congratulations to him. Outside of that, not much has changed. So, they just locked up Andy Reid for what was it, like 5 years, 6 years?
Yeah, you got a long deal.
He got a long deal. He's going to try getting some free food down in town by just flashing the Super Bowl ring. So Kansas City, full speed ahead. I think Denver is going to finish in second place. I think they'll do a little bit better than their 7-9 record with the second year as Drew Lock as their quarterback. Not much better. I don't see him getting into the playoffs, but they'll improve on that. And then in terms of the Raiders and Chargers, I think they're going to stay in that same order that they finished last year, but I think they're going to regress. The Raiders, what have they done lately, that is striking fear into you and looking at, what, that might help them turn their season around. What's everyone talking about with the Raiders these days? It's, it's the 1 year anniversary of them cutting Antonio Brown from the team. Nobody's talking about anything they've done. So I don't think they're going to get any better. I think they're going to regress a little bit. And then the Chargers, they finished 5-11 last year. I think they're going to finish even worse than they did last year. I think for a lot of years, as good as that team's been for a lot of years, they were only as good because of their quarterback. And you look at Phillip Rivers for, his entire career. The one time he didn't throw over 3,000 yards was because he only started in 2 games in 2005. So for every season he started, all 16 games from 2006 on, it's been 3,000 yards or more. And then since 2008, it's been over 4,000 yards or more. Phillip Rivers hides a lot of bad and he makes a lot of people good. You look at Tyrod Taylor on the flip side, Yeah, he had those 3 good years in Buffalo, but it's really been not much else.
It definitely has not been much else. So for my breakdown, I have the Chiefs winning this division by default. And I have them going about 11-5.
Okay.
The one question you have to figure about this team is how hungry are they to go back? Because you touched upon a lot of points that Mahomes got that monster deal.
Yep.
Chris Jones got paid.
Yep.
Travis Kelce got paid.
Yep.
So
they're making deals when they, according to reports, had like $17 in cap space.
Right. So that all being said, you've locked in your nucleus for your team, which is smart.
Yeah.
But when everybody's getting paid and everybody just won the championship, where is the drive to go back?
Nobody's done it since the Pats.
It's tough to go back. It's tough to repeat. Can this team do it? Absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
You have Patrick Mahomes, who is arguably the best player in all of the league.
Yeah.
He makes up a lot of ground for everybody else. And I know that they have, obviously new running back, Edwards here is going to be taking over the backfield. So they have the weapons in place to keep putting up points.
Sure.
So I'm not too worried about that. It's just to repeat is going to be the biggest question. Can the defense also become more shut down? Spagnuolo came up with great schemes for him and definitely worked with the talent he had. But let's face it, they gave up a lot of points too.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, they should have lost that Super Bowl as well, but
yeah,
Frisco decided to start passing instead of running the ball in the second half.
Yeah.
So that all being said, Kansas City should win this division outright.
Sure.
And taking a look at the rest of the teams in there, what are you going to get out of Denver? I mean, that's going to be a factor.
They'll contend, but they're not going to be in anything.
Yeah, they're not going to be lights out for anything. I mean, Drew Lock had a great year last year. Can you repeat it? You now have Melvin Gordon in the backfield. You got Jerry Jeudy on the offensive side, too. Is that really going to be the offensive pieces to need to grow? I don't know. I mean, Melvin Gordon, you got to kind of see what you get out of him at this stage. And can they really hang with in a shootout against Mahomes? I don't think so.
No.
But what can that defense do to step up? With how that team, I mean, that's basically, they have to be built to defeat Kansas City. Are they? I don't think so.
No.
I mean, can they beat the Chargers? Yeah, the Chargers got rid of Phillip Rivers. They went all in on Justin Herbert with their number 1 draft pick. You still got Tyrod back there.
Yep.
Tyrod, listen, is serviceable. He can make plays when
he's a stopgap
when you need him. But he's not going to be the guy that gets you to the playoffs. I'm sorry. I saw him in Buffalo many times. I like Tyrod. I'm not hating on him, but it's just in comparison to the other quarterbacks in this league, he's not going to be the guy that gets you there. So that's why I said he's just going to be the stopgap to get to Herbert, and then who knows what you're going to get out of him.
Yeah.
Bosa and the defense there, they'll be solid. And they'll keep the Chargers in games that they shouldn't be in. Are they going to win games and take it over?
No.
Sadly, no. I mean, the Chargers are one of these weird teams that they have all the talent in the world, but they just can't put it together. They're a lot like Cleveland, in my opinion.
Yeah.
They have a stacked team on both sides of the ball, but for whatever reason, it just doesn't click, and especially in games that they need it to click. I mean, take a look at the playoff games that they have been in over the past year.
Patriots.
Mm-hmm.
They spanked the you-know-what out of Baltimore and then came in and laid a goose egg.
Yeah, they looked like a JV team, not even a professional team. So, I mean, that being said, they should get at least third place or hang in there, but at the same time, the Raiders...
I don't think they'll get third place just because, like I said, Rivers made up for a lot. Rivers is a great quarterback that just was never able to get over the hump for whatever reason.
Mm-hmm.
Take him out of that equation, I think they regress quite a bit.
Yeah.
I'm an idiot, and I should have read my notes, but my yellow highlighter did not come up very well. I actually had the Chargers going the wild card.
Okay.
So, whoopsies.
Okay.
My bad.
Well,
my bad. I mean, I did pick them second place, so I am okay.
You did it.
But that's why we do it live.
That's why we do it live. See, we don't do this rehearsed.
Right.
You get the real and the rawness here, and usually you'll hear a good little miscue here and there. But with the Chargers, they should be in the wild card contention. I mean, they have the talent. It's just for whatever reason, it's the mental block. And then the Raiders, listen, the stadium looks beautiful in Vegas.
Yeah.
They're working on.
Oh, yeah.
Honestly, other than that,
what you got going for you?
Yeah. Like I want to see the Raiders do well. We have a lot of Raider listeners too, by the way, which is shout out to them.
Sorry, guys.
Yeah, but it's just like, what is your team going to do to really push that lever? I mean, to get you in the right direction. I mean, Gruden is there, and obviously Derek Carr is still in place, but
outside that,
I'm not seeing anything that's really scaring anybody. And let alone, like I said, your benchmark for all these teams is the Chiefs. Are you better than the Chiefs?
Hell no.
No. So the Chiefs should have an easy 6 wins here.
Facts.
Oh, yeah.
I'm just putting this out right now. How they do against the rest of the league is anybody's guess.
Yeah, I mean, I think that the talent level for Kansas City is too high to have that Super Bowl hiccup. I know, only New England's the only team to do it back-to-back because it is very daunting.
They're the only team recently.
It's a very difficult. Well, yeah, I mean that's what it's a difficult task to do. However, I think that their talent level is too elite when you look at all the stars in place to have that bad of a hang-up that they can't just win at minimum 6 games in their division, already be 6 and whatever, and go on to win 4 more games to at least go 10-6.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like they're too good to not win a minimum of 10 games.
Yeah.
And then I mean outside of that, yeah, I mean it's a crapshoot. I mean I have the Chargers going down as my other wild card, but I mean it could just as easily be Denver, who had a really good strong push towards the end of the year when they made the call to put Drew Lock in place. A little almost Drew Gulak, it rolls right off the tongue,
Yeah.
And then obviously, the Raiders. They're good. They're just not great. And when you look at the talent level of the other 3 teams in that division, they're just better than
There's a huge gap.
It's a huge gap. I mean, you haven't replaced what you lost in Khalil Mack defensively, and when you don't fill those shoes, which I mean obviously are difficult to do to begin with, but when you don't even attempt to fill that position, you fall by the wayside. And when you have a quarterback in your conference as good as Patrick Mahomes, you need to have pass rushing, and they just don't have it.
Yeah.
No.
It's going to be a long season for the Raiders, unfortunately.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
looking at this, though, I think we all had the Chiefs winning the division outright.
Correct.
Yep.
Coach is the only one who had the Chargers going to the wild card.
Because I got Bows.
You got that Notre Dame.
Yeah, I think I was blinded.
Kool-Aid.
I was blinded.
Yeah, I was going to say, you got that Notre Dame
West,
Kool-Aid.
yeah.
So that all being said, we gave you our picks for the AFC South and the AFC West. We're going to take one more break and come back, give you our playoff picture and who is taking the AFC Championship on this special edition of the ODPH podcast.
Hi everyone, this is Mark, the DM for Stranger Damies. What is Stranger Damies, you ask? Well, we're just a bunch of first-time D&D players exploring the world of Tal'Dorei 30 years after the events of the Coma Conclave, which was made famous on Critical Role. Join us every week as we roll some dice, make some mistakes, but most importantly, we have fun. New episodes air every Wednesday at strangerdamies.podbean.com or on your favorite podcast streaming app. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Stranger Damies. And is it Wednesday yet?
Hey, this is Brian Wolf from Fair City Fire. You are listening to ODPH, the greatest podcast in Binghamton.
Woo!
Hot lips touching, cool thighs feeling, shawty running up, her spine spinning, long day to a long night, but I'm not stopping till I get it right.
Coming back for the final segment on this edition of the ODPH podcast, talking the NFL preview of the AFC Conference. So we went over all the divisions. We are now at the playoff picture. So, Coach, why don't you tell us who made it to the playoffs in your bracket and who's going to the Super Bowl?
All right, so I have, I guess this is in really no particular order, but I've got Kansas City, I've got the Ravens, I've got the Buffalo Bills, and I've got the Titans as my division winners. My wild card, I have New England, Pittsburgh, and I have the Chargers as my third wild card team.
And one thing that we need to explain is this year they're going to be expanding the playoffs, so there'll be 3 wild card teams.
Yes. I have in my AFC championship game, I have the Steelers. I mean, all things considered, as long as this goes well, I didn't fill out a playoff bracket, but I've got the Steelers going against the Chiefs and the Chiefs winning. And I just threw my paper like Tony Reale on PTI or part of my take.
Go.
Boom!
Around the horn.
Around the horn. I got Kansas City versus The Pittsburgh Steelers, and I've got Kansas City winning the game.
Okay. So again, no particular order. I've got Buffalo winning the East, the Ravens winning the North, Houston winning the South, and then Kansas City winning the West. And then for wild card, I've got the Patriots, Titans, and Pittsburgh. And then for the AFC Championship game, I'm going to say it's Baltimore versus Kansas City, with Baltimore winning.
Wow.
Because again, it's like Coach said in the last segment, it's very hard for a defending team to repeat, and no team has done it since the Patriots did it. And I realize I'm a Patriots fan saying this, but I think the defensive coordinators for all the teams that Kansas City is going to be playing have had ample time to study that defense and figure out the ins and the outs and the X's and the O's. And I just don't think they're going to be able to replicate the same end result. Will they be able to replicate some of the same magic and stats and flashiness? Yes. Will they put up some ridiculous highlights that you can't even pull off in Madden? Probably. Will they be able to repeat winning the Super Bowl? I don't think so. For me, in just last year, they came so far out of left field that I never saw it coming. That I think if you go back and roll the tape, I don't think I figured them winning the Super Bowl last year. I will eat that. I'll take the crow on that. Hey, I was wrong. But I just don't think they'll be able to repeat this year.
That wasn't what I was saying wow about. I agree with you.
Oh.
So for my picks, no particular order, because that whole extra playoff seeding is throwing me off. For some reason, it just hasn't sunk in yet. But, hey, we're expanding. We're giving out more trophies. Hey, whatever. Obviously, number one overall seed for me is the Baltimore Ravens. Kansas City is 2, Buffalo 3, Houston is 4. My wild card teams, New England, Pittsburgh, and I'm taking the Colts by coin flip because, like I said, the AFC South is that bad, but I don't see the AFC West being any better. When it's all said and done, your AFC Championship game, I know everybody thinks I'm taking Buffalo, but I don't think they make it. I'll be honest. I think it's Kansas City and Baltimore, and I think Baltimore takes them. I think that what we've all touched upon, too, and I think Pat put it so eloquently, like I'm just going to be echoing what he's saying. For what Kansas City is trying to do is very tough, and only a few teams have done it. To go back-to-back in this day and age is almost unheard of.
Mm-hmm.
The Patriots are the Patriots, and the magical run they had, you can't take anything away from them. They set the bar. Is the Chiefs that good enough they could go back? Absolutely.
Yeah.
But I think, as Pat touched upon, a lot of teams have been studying Patrick Mahomes. They've been studying how Kansas City runs their offense. They are ready to make the changes that they need to slow them down.
And I think Baltimore is hungrier. I think they want to get out from under Kansas City's shadow, and they want to establish their own dominance. And I think Kansas City might be sitting back a little bit. The barbecue's been good. It's got a little extra sauce on it. I'm not going to sit here and say they've been complacent because I don't think any team is ever complacent when they win a championship. But I think the foot might not be on the pedal as hard as it should be.
Exactly, and I think that's one thing that we're going to have to wait and see what we get out of Kansas City. But for me, I think Baltimore is so motivated and so fired up.
Oh yeah,
I think they're going to have the biggest chip on their shoulder. And I think they're going to come in and definitely want to make some statement wins.
Oh, yeah, because you think last year, as good as Lamar Jackson was, and he had his fair share of airtime on the media, what was the one thing you heard about all last year as good as Lamar Jackson was? Patrick Mahomes. Mahomes. Look at did you see the video game no look backwards pass Patrick Mahomes threw?
Yeah.
Patrick Mahomes. That's all they heard last year. And they're like, you want to know what? Damn it, we're tired of hearing about Patrick Mahomes.
Exactly, and that's why I think he's going to have a really step-up year. I think that not that he needed any more motivation.
God, no.
But I think now that year 3, they saw what Kansas City did, and I think that they know that they're a better team, and they want to prove it. For Kansas City, like I said, everybody got paid. So where's your motivation to go back? And especially as Pat touched upon, is the foot going to be on the gas pedal that hard? Maybe when it comes playoff time. I'm not saying they're going to olay it and not show up.
So Lord knows the Giants did that a few years.
Right. But I think that this is where you see Baltimore rise up.
Hey, I meant that as a compliment. They come into the playoffs, and you're like, what the hell are we going to get out of them? And then they win a Super Bowl.
I thought you were talking about olaying.
No.
No, they definitely didn't do that. I mean, David Tyree and I don't want to get Pat too fired up. We'll say differently about that.
I'm sorry, I've gone temporarily deaf.
Oh, yeah, that's right. He took the speakers out. But like I say, for Kansas City, they could go back.
Yeah.
But
will it surprise me if they do? No.
No. I think it's going to be between one of those two teams. I mean, Buffalo has made great strides. Are they there yet? debatable, but I think they'll make some
They
noise.
make better play calls at the end of a game.
Yeah, if they do better play calling, yeah, they get the chance. New England, I think, is going to show that they're definitely playoff ready, and I think they'll hang there. And like I say, for the other two teams, Pittsburgh rides on Big Ben.
Yeah.
For the wild card position. Could Cleveland overtake them? Unless some freak injuries happen, maybe, but I just don't see it happening.
Biggest thing with New England is it's going to show a lot of people who like to say, oh, Belichick's only as good because he had Tom Brady there. It's either going to show him right or it's going to show him wrong.
It's going to show a lot of different things, but I will say this. The AFC is going to have a lot of fun games, and especially once we get to the playoffs, and I know we're talking really early and doing the very, very early predictions, they have got a lot of exciting players running on both sides of the ball. Mm-hmm. The offensive games could be like a video game style.
Probably.
And I'm not down if Kansas City and Baltimore meet up, then you might see like a 40-37 game.
Yo.
I'm not putting that out of the realm of thought. Because once you get to the playoffs, everybody steps their game up. But I just think Baltimore has a little bit more. So in recap, Coach took Kansas City to go to the big dance.
Yes.
Pad took the Baltimore Ravens, and I joined him on taking the Baltimore Ravens. That is our predictions, but hit us up on that hashtag ODPH. Who is your prediction to win the AFC Championship title and go to the Super Bowl? So instead of our normal ending, we're just going to say stay tuned for part 2 of our NFL preview. You can find all our links at ochodoroparlayhour.com. For your coach, my coach, the coach, Coach Duffy.
Good night, and see you right around the corner.
For the one and only Padawan J.
Thank you.
I'm your host, Ken M. Thank you as always for listening to the ODPH podcast, better known as the Ocho Duro Parlay Hour. We'll see you next episode.